Hello.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening.
Hello.
How is everybody doing today? We are here. We have a lovely panel. Marie, can you hear me clear?
I can hear you.
Okay, we have wonderful guests that will be here with us today on Incarceration to Incorporation. This is an opportunity for us as returning citizens to provide a platform that will change the narrative. So often, so many people believe that when men and women return home from incarceration, that they are bound to go right back, the heightness of recidivism. However, what we're doing is changing that narrative, allowing people to know that we are successful, whether it is business, occupation, organization, or relationships. We are changing the narrative. And so tonight we have some wonderful guests that will share their story, that will share the resources for returning citizens, relational, everything. We just got a lot of people that's going to tell us a lot of stuff tonight, and I'm excited about that. What about you, Marie?
I'm very excited. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm very excited to hear what's going on the show tonight.
Okay. So, well, before we get started, we're going to get our guests to introduce themselves. As always, we want to thank Julius Hall for ATR Media, All Things Relevant Media. We are grateful for this platform that he has provided for us. Also, we are grateful for AB, who had the mindset to come up with this idea, Incarceration to Incorporation, to give us that idea to let people know who we are and what we're doing. We got a couple of people that already started joining us. If you will, at this moment, hit that share button. Allow others to know that there is a platform of hope, a platform that provides education, encouragement, and empowerment. I see you, Benjamin Jones. I see you, Sierra. It says, greeting to everyone. We are so grateful. This is your opportunity to hit that share button. So now, without further ado, would you share with us? Tell us who you are. Just a little bit about your introduction. We're going to start, as always, ladies first. So we'll start with Pamela, and then Shannon, and then we'll work our way over to Richard.
Yes, I'm Pamela Winderriedel Hillman, and I put that Winderriedel in there because that was the name I had when I was in prison in 2010. So a lot of people know me from that name. And I just put that in there so if they do, they'll recognize because I'm a changed person. They wouldn't know it any other way. So I am president and founder of Life Changers Legacy and Uniquely You Resource Center in Cumming, Georgia. Life Changers Legacy is a prison and reentry ministry that we provide these 4-phase workbooks to go into the prison, and we provide a mentor for everyone who gets in the workbook curriculum. And I will tell you more about it in a little bit. Yeah.
I think the lady her phone went out, Miko. Where does she go? She's coming back.
She's trying to get back on. There she is.
Go ahead, Shannon.
You're up, girl.
I don't think she's back yet.
Can you hear us?
Well, while we're waiting on Shannon to get the mic together, go ahead, Richard, and tell us who you are.
Hi, my name is Rich Angerer. I'm delighted to be here. I thank you for the opportunity to share tonight. I am the founder and executive director of New Point Partnership. It's a structured housing ministry for Christian men that are exiting prison, and we're located in Brunswick, Georgia.
Okay.
Great. All right. So while we're trying to get Shannon, I want you, go ahead, Pamela, tell us your story, because you stated first that you yourself was once incarcerated, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about your story, and this is how I want you to narrate it. When you came home, was your transition back into society a smooth one, or a difficult one? And if so, tell us how and why.
Okay, great. So I was sexually molested as a child by 3 different men. I started using drugs at 9 years old, and I was addicted for 35 years. I was in and out of jail, and they finally had enough, and they said, this time you're going to prison. And they wanted to give me a 20-year sentence, but they gave me a 5-do-3, only by the grace of God. Trust me. Because I had a trafficking charge, and I had, it was always cocaine, crack, and alcohol was my vice. And not to say I didn't try everything else.
No, it went out when we drove up.
So I take the prison time as really my rescue time. And while I was in there, I knew the Lord long before, but I was in this confrontation within the entire time. My soul was infected with, all the shame, the guilt, everything that comes along with drug addiction and prostitution. So when I got incarcerated, I started a class called Daughters of Zion, Women of God Using Your Time Wisely, because I was really studying every self-help book and recovery books and science books, everything that I could get my hands on, and taking notes out of it, and started studying the Word of God, and He is who healed me, along with all the science that I have learned. So the women were wanting to know what was changing me, because I was happy. I was happy in prison. And they were like, how can you be happy you're in prison? I said, no, I was in prison out there. I'm no longer in prison. And I would tap my head. And so when I just, these women wanted more. They wanted something. They wanted change. They didn't know how to change. God was teaching me. So I was just extending that to everyone. And when it was time for me to get out, now this is the key. Let me tell you this. While I was in this time, I had a support system outside. Every other time when I was incarcerated, very seldom did I have a support system. Everybody would abandon me. This time I had a support system, and that's key. Because without having people on the outside to mentor, to walk alongside those within the prison, to send in the psychology books, to send in the self-help books, to help me, to put money on my books, to send me packages. These things are important. We cannot forget those in prison. It is vitally important, because these are people. These are God's people too. And as long as we are supporting and undergirding them, they can make it. We have to be really on point to do that. And that's what Life Changers Legacy does. So once I got out, like I said, I had that support system. But this is the thing. The women were saying, you're going to forget us. Everybody forgets us. Nobody ever writes us. Nobody sends us packages. I said, no, you're going to see. I am not going to forget you. In fact, I'm going to come back in with a program. And even the counselor said, you can't do that. Because I went in and asked her if I could leave the program and do all kinds of other things that I had thought about while I was in with this Daughters of Zion. And she said, no, you have to take it with you. So I said, I'm going to be back. I said, I will be back with a program. And so I did continue. I actually got mentors for those in the prison. And each person who gets in this workbook curriculum gets a mentor. Right now, we have a waiting list of 280 women. Wow. We have like 500 and something people in the program. We've touched over 7,000 lives in the prison so far. And it's all done through email and video visit. You don't even have to go in the prison.
Wow.
You walk alongside someone through a workbook curriculum. You go through it too. It's a two-edged sword. It's bringing healing to us as well. We don't know all the garbage we got left over. We got residue, man. We got so much stuff. And we have to help them. If we want the society, our communities to change, it starts within the prison. We have to help them change the mindsets and the hearts. Okay, and get rid of all that labeling and shame and all that crap that the world's putting on these people. It's amazing, this shift of mindset. I can give you so many testimonies of so many people that this has changed their lives. And I want to also say that God purposed this for Rich to be on this, because Rich and I just partnered a couple of weeks ago that the men, we're in the men's prisons too. We have about 37 men that are waiting for a mentor so they can get in the workbook as well. But we have groups within the prison. If they finish phase 1 workbook, they're eligible to start a group. They can start a group of 5 to 10 people. And we've got groups all over Washington State Prison. We've got them kind of trickled throughout in all the women's prisons, but we're only in 6 of the men's prisons right now. But it's spreading. It is spreading so fast.
So let me stop you right there for one moment, because what it sounds like to me, and then we're going to go straight to Shannon, is that you were there and you recognized that there was a need for changing the mindset. And so not only did your mindset shift and change, but now when you came home, you wanted to also help others to change their mindset, and the doors have been open for you to do that very same thing, correct?
Amen. Yes, exactly. And God's even expanding the territory. When I met Rich, he has a transition house. We don't have a transition house yet, but April is our goal. And we want to have 4 next year because there's such a waiting list. It is amazing. But Rich wants to use the people, the men that have gone through our workbook curriculum. And there are so many. There are just so many. And they're eligible to get out soon.
What we want you to do is share some of those stories, but not now. Let's allow Shannon to start. Before Shannon starts, Julia says, there is no shame or embarrassment once you get out. God and that time you did kills that shame. And so now, share your story, Shannon.
My sister. Oh, she's frozen.
Miss Pamela, while Shannon is trying to come, may I ask a question? To say if the prison doors were open, like you can go inside of the prisons instead of being on Zoom, do the person has to not be on probation or parole to go in with you?
As long as you have been out a year.
Yes, ma'am.
Go back in. I used to go into the prison, but of course COVID stopped that. And we were already set up. God set us up with this Zoom. I mean, with the JPay, you know, so it grew during COVID. People were not getting anything from the families, maybe emails, but they were hungry. And so we started sending the workbooks in to everybody, because even though we didn't have mentors, they are hungry for change. They just don't know how. So we've got science in here. We've got so much about the brain, your emotions, and trauma recovery is in here. What I did is I took all of the methodologies. I'm a counselor in different fields, and I took the methodologies of the trauma recovery empowerment model, critical thinking, stages of change, criminal thinking, all of those methodologies, and I combined them with the Word of God. I infused the Word of God throughout this workbook because He is who healed me. But we've got to know how the connections are. We've got a soul, we've got a spirit, and our mind. Every bit of it is connected, but we have to connect the science with the Bible.
That's right.
Yeah. I told her to park somewhere. She's in a vehicle. So I just texted her and told her to park, because she's moving around and it's the signals are
it's going in and out.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
use my voice too. I don't know. I think it's the change of the weather or something.
Well, let's let Richard. Richard, you go ahead, share your story. What is your relationship to incarceration? what made you desire to start this transitional housing?
That's a God thing, because I had zero intention of being involved with anything related to incarceration. I flew commercially for a major company for 25 years. And when I retired and came down to Brunswick, I had no inclination to go into prison, post-prison ministry. I joined the Gideons when I got down here, and right around that same time of 2016, there was a program to encourage Gideons to go into the solitary confinement cells, the tier cells of the Georgia State prisons. And they found that when Gideons go in, the attacks inmate on inmate or inmate on corrections officers, it goes down. And it just brings some peace to the area. Also helps with suicide prevention, because they have somebody to talk to. And I went in with a group of 5 Gideon men that were very reliable, going in every Wednesday into Ware State Prison in Waycross. We would go in and meet with these of the 50 men that were in that situation. It would vary over time, but for a good part of the time, we had some reasonable consistency with these men. You could build, not only share with them once or twice, but you could develop a relationship with them. So when they opened up this ministry, I absolutely felt drawn into that. I felt I was under compulsion. I could say that firmly. I was under compulsion. I had to do that. And that's a God thing, because it wasn't from me. Got involved with it, did this work out at Ware State for a number of years. And through that, met a couple, not a lot. A lot of guys would talk the talk, just have somebody to talk to or be argumentative, whatever. But there are people in there that are born again Christians that, may have been taught before they went in, their mom, their grandma, whatever, usually a mom figure, not a dad figure, right? That's one of the problems. Would bring them to church, but they decided it wasn't for them. And now they realize, I should have listened. And they have an awakening while they're in prison, and they're changed people. And I could honestly say that I have some brothers in there. I've met some brothers, some of my kinfolk on the other side of the bars. So yeah, it was a real, I wouldn't say that I always looked forward to driving to Waycross, an hour drive out there, an hour drive back, but I don't think I could say I ever felt it wasn't worthwhile by the time I turned around and came home. There's always a value when you see what happens with men that you have an interaction with, and you build a relationship with, or you just get to speak some positive encouragement to them. The conditions in there are difficult, obviously, very difficult. And the ability to speak some light and to bring the gospel message to those that are unsaved, or to bring encouragement and edification to those that are saved, is just a wonderful thing. So finding these Christian brothers inside and realizing the difficulty that everybody has when they get out of prison. Unless you have a family that's got money and resources and still loves you and cares enough about you to help you out when you get out, you need a lot of help. And I saw this as a win in 2 areas. Number one, it's a win for the men to start a structured housing operation is beneficial for the men, obviously, because we're giving them that. We're giving them a residential type setting that is Christian, that is family oriented. It's a small operator. Our operation is not a big complex. We can hold 6 men. So it's small, but it allows the relationship to be built that will enable growth, and relational connections are extremely important in the Christian life. It enables that and encourages that. So we help the individual by bringing him along, putting him in this environment, providing him with not only housing and food, but also discipleship and Celebrate Recovery, and tying in with the work that Pamela's doing, for example, taking these men that have already come through some and accelerating them on in either education, job skills, the whole gamut, whatever it takes. I really like Pamela's direction of including the fact that there's nutritional issues involved. That's a big issue. When you see what they're fed in the prisons, and they may be not light or skin and bones when they get out, but they're not well nourished where they can think clearly and process properly and really have a good leg up. I have a relative who has problems with bipolar, and yet by simply taking vitamin supplements, it changes his personality, and it makes a difference. So that's a very important aspect. So we help them. And these men, they're our Christian brothers. Now, the Bible says that we're supposed to be helpful to all people, to be kind to all people, and to love all people, but especially those of the household of faith. And that's why with the 15 or 20,000 men a year that get out of the Georgia State prison system, we're looking for our brothers. And those are the ones, because we can't help everybody, we're helping those that are closest to us, our kin.
Right.
But we also help the church, because the church is built up of, Bible says, living stones. We're living stones that have been given gifts by the Holy Spirit to edify and build up the church. And we build up that church by finding places where these living stones can be placed and be fruitful in constructing an edifice, a strong church that's capable of reaching out into the community. I'm getting a lot of feedback, but it enables the church to grow and prosper, and it is impactful to the community, because I would change a little bit what Pamela said, just to this extent. The way you stop problems with people coming out of prison is to not have them go in, and the way to stop that is to attack the issue of youth, and how are youth being grown up, and when boys need men as role models. And in the vast majority of the people that I encountered in prison, the vast majority, they had no male model that was of value to them. Most had no male model at all. And those that did, it was not a good one. So if we're able to bring these men out and equip them to work within the church and to have an impact on people, no matter what they do, whether they become a pastor, they simply work in the church in an administrative role, or they do street evangelism, or they work with youth, whatever it may be, that's where we stop the problem of so many people, 50,000 people in Georgia being incarcerated. We work with the youth, and we provide them with the proper Christian, godly men that can work with them and teach them and help them to grow.
Gotcha.
That's what New Point's designed to do.
So let us see now. Shannon, can you hear us? Say something, Shannon.
Hello?
There you
Can
go.
you guys
There
hear
you
me?
go. There you go.
Thank God for stability.
All right. So now, Shannon, we want you. I hear a feedback. Tell us your story.
So, hi, I'm Shannon Smith, and I've just served 25 years in a state prison for a crime that I did not see. While I was there, I obtained dual associate's degree, one in devised theater, American Studies, and Women in Film. And my present one, which I'm still working on in my bachelor's, I have an associate's in positive human development and social change. I would like to start off just on a personal level to share with, I hear both Pam, who I knew at the beginning of her story, and I remember her constantly saying that she would do something great. So it's great for me to see her at this late date in time where it's in fruition. That's a great thing for me. So positive human development is psychology and social change is sociology. And we were told it was one of the hardest associates because it was so compacted with information to empower us to be able to articulate our speech and explain the mental health disconnects inside of the prisons. Not only were we studying about why people behave the way they do, why people move in society the way they do, we also were watching our environment and learning about all the disconnects that cause problems with incarcerated people. You know, one of the things that stood out with me in my education was that Milo's law of needs. If a person is devoid of food, shelter, clothing, or respect, it is disruptive to positive human development. Most of the people who go through the penal system have been devoid of those things throughout their lives. It has tripled once they go into prison, which is a perpetuation of poverty and a dichotomized system where the inmate is the weaker of the two, and they don't have the autonomy to be themselves, be a means to their own end. Once a person is subjected there over a measure of time, it begins to twist them. They move to a place what many may recognize as bottom brain, reptilian brain, and what that is when a person is no longer thinking about community, friends, the person is thinking about survival. And it's about eat, sleep, and that's pretty much what you can do in prison. Oftentimes, you know, when people look in or they have a short-lived experience, they don't understand the need for respect, the need for food, to know the stability that is it's a perpetuation of poverty in society, in prison. And for me, it has been extremely challenged. I've only been home a year to find a job. I have technical skills. I got computer skills. I can cut grass. I can wax floors, but I couldn't find a job to do any of those things, much less my degree. Nobody wanted to hear about a convict with a psychology degree who's, you know, still building it in her bachelor's. You know, resources was a big thing, especially for people like me. There's not a lot of women who've served as much time and you come out and find assistance. And the programs that are set up for men are packed with men, while some men go unnoticed, unseen about. And they're still living this life of poverty, deprivation, no respect. And they are human. They need food. They need clothing. They need shelter. They need a job. And it is hard for more than people realize. We have learned that 600 million returning citizens are presently in America right now. So not only are they suffering, it creates a whole dynamic of another set of society, a lower class of the hierarchy in this human race that we got going on. These people are restricted from voting in many states. So they can't vote for a person who's representative of their situation and who wants to fight that. These people can't get jobs. Many places do not allow them to get their license. For instance, I was not allowed. I went to the transitional center and I had a job during COVID, and we went into quarantine and I had to get another job. But all the while I was there, I was never allowed to get my license or ID. So these things are restrictive to my upward mobility or even obtaining a life that I love to live. So as we search and reach and go through these struggles, they're unheard of because there's no platform like I am fortunate to be on right now to say these things are real. People are not getting help. People are being homeless because they don't have the help. They don't have the connections. I'm in the greater Atlanta. There's not a lot of places for you to go find somewhere to stay because of COVID. A lot of things that may have impacted my life tremendously was that I came out during a pandemic. So a lot of people were homeless in the free world. So it made it even doubly harder for me to find housing and stability.
Well, I want you to know that I am grateful that you're able to share your heart. But I see something that is beautiful that we have. I hear a feedback. Make sure that's not. Okay. We have a common denominator, and that is we have served time, but now we are able to see full circle from Pamela and also from Richard. And now also Shannon, how we can all work together. So what I want you to do now, Pamela, share with us how you are able to bring all three of these together so that we can help make a difference as Shannon is speaking about.
Yes. So yeah, I told Shannon we actually had lunch at Cheesecake Factory yesterday, and she said she'd been out for a year, and I said, "Why didn't you contact me?" because we tell all of the mentees in the program to contact us immediately when they get out. We've picked them up from prison. I have furnished apartments for people. Down to the silverware, down to the garden room, everything in an apartment we've given. And yes, I have a thrift store, and I had Shannon come yesterday and she loaded up. Didn't you, girl? Some good stuff. And, we have to be there for them. We have to do what's necessary because God provides for us. And if we are going to be the extension in the arm that we're supposed to be to reach out to them, even while they're in prison, we give packages to those who finish the curriculum. If they finish the first phase workbook, we send them a $50 package. We have 4 phases, and the mentor is to walk alongside them. Now, I know for a fact, if I had not had the support system that I had when I was in, I really think I would have gone back, because that was just my habit. That was how I knew life. That was all I did, was I would have almost 2 years clean. These people need a structured help.
Right.
Okay? So we do that in this ministry, Life Changers Legacy. We have a 4-phase curriculum. I don't have all the phases here with me right now, but those are the 4 phases. And they have to see themselves free before they can actually be free. So we just walk them through that whole process. We also have a comparison sheet, and I can send anybody all this information, whoever likes. And this is a comparison of all the different ministries that go in. And they don't provide what we provide. They just go in, they drop a bucket, and that's good. Buckets are good, but where's the follow-up? So we do all of this. We do every bit of that. And we even have a family restoration piece. I have taken refrigerators and stoves and fixed cars for the families. They didn't have a ride to go visit. I have, done things for their children. I've brought reconciliation from different family members back to those in prison, and even their children, because it's a broken system. And like Rich was saying, which is so on point, it is a fatherless generation. It's an orphan spirit that is just rampant out there. And these people need to know that there is help, there is hope, and we are the answer. And not just anybody, because not everybody really is moved with compassion for these people. And they may say, well, I want to do something, and that's great. Not everybody is qualified to be a mentor. You can always do something else, but do something. Because
now, let me interrupt real quick right there, because I want to make sure that when those that are listening, because we have different audiences, we have returning citizens, we have resources of returning citizens, and we have relatives of returning citizens. But we also have a community of people that are listening and that don't care anything about returning citizens. Well, I want to make sure, as Shannon has spoken, it sounds like there may be resources, but there is not a platform that is allowing people coming home to know about these resources. Many of you know my story. I did 26 years. When I came home, I didn't know, just like Shannon, I didn't know where some of these resources were. But my reality is different than others, because I had family support, community support, gainful employment. But there are many that don't have these things. How can we, this is where I want Richard to speak to, how can we get the word out en masse that there are A, resources, but B, there's a need for more resources? Richard, how do we do that?
Way to start. Yeah, let's try.
Okay. Good to hear you.
Are we on?
Yes.
I think this program is a good way to start. So much of what has happened as relates to starting New Point has been through networking. And I can recall that one of the people that I had worked with in the prison, a young man, he was getting out, and I kept in touch with him after he got out. He was released in December a number of years ago. And I had sent him a Bible for Christmas. He had given me his contact information. We kept in touch over the phone. And within about 6 weeks, the phone was ringing to a realtor's office, not to him anymore. And I thought this was not good. And I wrote him a letter and said what happened. And by the time I mailed that letter and I drove to Waycross to the prison, they told me all that happened about this young man. And he was arrested and was charged with triple murder and all sorts of stuff. But the point being that the prison population inside finds out very rapidly if there's something available, it seems to me. The same thing happens to some extent, I think, less well on the outside, that if there's any contact at all between people on the outside, the word will get around. When we start having families that are impacted, they're going to tell friends, and relatives are going to hear about what's going on. And it will spread that way. It will spread rapidly when there's success and they see the success that's come out of the programs. I'm sure that, Pamela, the people that come out of your program and go out and are successful, as they go back into life, people are going to say, what happened and how are you like that? And the word's going to get out, and the people that hear that will get back to their relatives on the inside and say, hey, you got to get with this program, because this is what happens to these people. And people, I did want to comment as relates to the issue of empowerment and encouragement. We have people on our board that have been incarcerated. You know, we have people that I work with now all the time that have had a prison background that are unbelievably helpful to this ministry and very impactful in the community. It happens all the time, but many times it's not known that they have an incarceration in their past. And I think one of the things would be to have a willingness to tell stories about the fact that I was in, I'm a great businessman, but I have to tell you my story. And stories are impactful because you can dispute lots of things, but you can't dispute what a person has lived through and experienced themselves.
Awesome. Yes. Shannon. So now, Shannon, I want you to say something, because you're home now, and often we see things differently when we come home. I want you already know the problem. Help us to come up with a solution to be able to fix the problem that you're sharing. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay, now I have to say a lot of things as I listen. With each program that the pastor and Pamela are often, there is a ceiling to that. What we have is a lack of community support. We need more people aware of the social circumstances that people in prison and out of prison go through. Only so many people can get in so many programs. We need more programs, more connections, and more people understanding the social situation and the disposition of being incarcerated. I believe in God, but there may be some people in there that can't read, can't comprehend, or don't speak the language, but they will need the resource. We look at it from such a small view, and we have to open up our eyes to what is needed, what was lacking in people's life. I didn't come home to a family. I came home with degrees and education and information, but no connections to do any of those things. So we have to think about those realities. It's not that people are bad, because to be honest, crime is the child of necessity. These are children that grew up without the things that they needed, and crime was committed, and crime is bad, but to supply a need, to build respect, to get food. We look at this the wrong way, and prison is doing what it was designed to do. We would like to think that it's rehabilitative, but I lived there for 25. There was no rehabilitation to me personally. There was the taking of my autonomy and me living in a dichotomized situation where I had no power and I was perpetually poor, or I had to draw to do things. And if you don't have support outside, which majority of the population there don't have support systems, so they're perpetually living in a place where they're disempowered, and they come home because the programs that we have available are full. So we need more community. We need to understand these people and not put them in a place, because God is always God, but their circumstances is due to society that we live in. There's a lot of gaps that's missing in the information that we need to understand how we help people like ourselves. This has been my observation. As a student of psychology, the first thing I did was analyze my environment. And to help me from having my sanity at this point, I've been analyzing society as I re-enter. There is no help for people like that. We need more help. We need more people to reach out. Oftentimes, I've run into people who were afraid to help people because they assumed that they were a returning citizen, that they may use them or abuse them. Those kind of people, help who you will, but they ain't gonna help everybody. So we need to get a better understanding of people who have been locked in a situation. Everybody's not going to get the degrees, because in my class, it was only 15 people could come in. I was in a prison of 1,500. So they can be just as intelligent or even more, but they don't have access to this stuff inside of it. I've watched kids not be able to get their GEDs because they didn't like their behavior of social judgment. School became a treat and not a necessity. That should not be a game that's being played, but I know personally from my experience and my observation that it was. To get in the college program, I won a scholarship, but we had to write an essay. I was the first class. The second cohort, the deputy warden stepped in and started picking the people she wanted to be in. So the people that the college had chosen were booted out. That's the missed opportunity that could change their life forever. We've got to think outside of the box when we're thinking about incarceration and how it affects people inside, how it affects people outside. We were learning in studies, the officer has the same level of PTSD as a person coming home from war. Can you only imagine a person who is locked in a 12-by-6 all night long and forced to go into detail whether they were capable or not? I've watched so many women that were not capable to work in the kitchen but was forced to work in there. They weren't mentally stable to work in the kitchen, but they playing over your food because they cannot go against the rules.
So what it sounds like to me, hold on, is hold on. I see we got background.
You got a phone on or something? Do you have headphones?
Do you want to put it on mute?
No, that's not.
Okay.
It's you have two devices going with Shannon. What it sounds like is that you still got turn yours down, mute yours, Miko.
I couldn't hear you. I apologize.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you perfectly, yes.
Yeah, so still a small one. What it sounds like is that the system, the prison system needs to do a better job to incentivize people to get these education, to get these degrees for certain skill sets. So when you come out, we know that cuts down on the recidivism. You are a prime example of a success story. And this is what we try to display here on this program. And like Rich said, this is the start where we connect the dots. And that's what Julius and I and AB and Marie, we're trying to do. We're trying to connect the dots for everybody. What we want to do is be prime examples. Look at Julius. Both our names are Julius, but look at Julius. He's now mentoring kids the same as I do. We're trying to make sure that we keep these kids from going into the system. Any that we can stop is an achievement to us. We want to be prime examples of what they should be doing. And then we want to be examples for those coming home to show that it's not over, because once paid, the debt is no longer a debt. You can see behind me, I was running for mayor. I did 21 and a half years in federal prison, but I came home and I rebuilt my life. I did those things that were necessary to get to where I am. I run a consulting firm. I run this media platform. I wrote my first book. I'm writing 2 more. It's a lot that we could show as examples for returning citizens. Yes, and they still want you to pay for things when you get home. like I'm being disqualified now because after doing 21 and a half years, they still want me to do 10 more before I can hold office. And I've only been on 9. So I'm being penalized for that. So things need to change. But what I wanted to show is not about me. It's about everybody else coming behind me. That we want to show them, no, don't be discouraged. Be cheerful. That we can that you can go anywhere from where you at. And that's what this program is about. We want, if y'all got people that y'all want to send to us so they can tell their stories, especially those that are doing well in a business or started their own business, we want to put that on front so that everybody can see it, so it can give other returning citizens encouragement. That's what this program is all about, finding resources for them, like Pamela and Rich and Julius and I and Marie and AB, giving them the encouragement to move on from where they're at. But I know I talk a whole lot, but it's just so much that we want to do with this. You know?
I know I talk a whole lot, but and what I want to do with this. Mute everybody right now for us, Daria. What I want to remind everyone is the connecting, like Julius Hall said, the connecting of the dots. What we have here is you had Pamela and Shannon, both were incarcerated. Now, Pamela came home, recognized what needs to happen to change the mindset of people. And then the doors have been opened for her to go back in and help. Rich saw the need. And when he saw the need, now his heart was pricked. And so he's trying to provide resources. And then you have Shannon. Shannon is helping us to look at this thing, to change our perspective, that it's not just about those that are on the outside, but it's about those also that are still on the inside. And so what Julius and I and Marie often talk about is that circle, that sphere of, number 1, corrections, number 2, community, and number 3, returning citizens. When that connection, if you will, takes place, then we are all a solution in this problem-solving equation. And so that's why we have men that are in Jessup right now, listening on radio, that are in prison, in jail, and they are hearing our stories, Pamela and Shannon. And what we want you to do now as we transition, speak to those that are still there, that are getting ready to come home, or that are hoping that they can come home. Speak to them and help them to have hope. That's number 1. And then, Rich, after these ladies speak to those that are still there and are coming home, I want you to speak to the community. Let the community know the importance, as Shannon stated, of their participation in this venture. So, Shannon, you start, then Pamela. Remember, you are talking to those that are still on the inside, but also somebody may have come home 20 years ago or 20 days ago, and they need to be encouraged that they can make it. Shannon, you start first. Let them off the mic. I'm off the mute.
Hello, my family on the inside. I am sending much love and blessings to you. Anything is possible. When I began this journey, they told me I would never be free. I'd never be home. Not only am I free, I've acquired an education and I advocate for women inside. I advocate for marginalized community. Through God, I've been on different podcasts talking about my family behind the bars, because I understand your situation. You got to have a belief.
She's frozen for just a second. Let's see if we can get her back in, because that's important. That word of encouragement is important. Okay. Well, we're going to, there she go. We'll get her to come back and share that. Pamela?
Anything is possible through God, with God.
Seems like every time we get ready to hear words of encouragement, something interferes.
Work on yourself. That's the only person you can change. I can't change
Shannon, we were not going to be able to hear you. So go ahead, Pamela. Speak to those that are out right now and that are struggling.
Yeah.
Let them know that they can make it.
So I'm going to follow up on what she was saying. We're the only ones who can change ourselves. And we've got to make that decision while we're sitting there. We've got time inside. And I also want to piggyback on what she said about the community. Part of what is in our packet is for the community. We're telling them we want to make the community aware. It is about changing their perspective about these marginalized and disfranchised people. Okay, we really, I'm so and just right on there with her. So I want to also say, we have a professionally you assessment tool for those incarcerated and those coming out. Now, this assessment tool they can take while they're in prison, and it's very extensive. It actually gauges their personality. It's done. It's so good, guys. And anybody that you have as an employee, I highly recommend that you have them do this assessment. It gauges the personality, their own skills that they had before. Listen, the selling dope and prostitution, that's helped me. It's helped me in sales. You know, it's helped me in this world. It is a trait, and God is using it. It's an upside down kingdom now. It's the economy of it. And that's in our workbook. We have finances in it. We have a different finance book as well. We also are creating a curriculum for the children of the incarcerated. So we want the whole family dynamics to get healed. Okay, this inner healing, there's brokenness throughout the entire family. And we're just, gonna have one part of this dysfunction that's gonna be healed. No, the entire unit has to be changed. So we offer this professionally. I'd be happy to send it to you guys. You can send it out to anyone. It's through Bruce King, and I'll give you his information. Also, what Rich was talking about, the vitamins that we're partnering with some vitamin companies and the Department of Corrections, because we want those who are in our curriculum to be given these vitamins. We're going to provide these vitamins for them, because without the right nourishment, and they're not getting it with the food, we know that, their brains the synapses are not connecting. Okay. They're so malnourished that they can't think correctly. Okay. If we're not producing, we're not allowing them to have the right tools. It's all about tools to equip them for returning. And if we're not doing that, and like Shannon was saying about the classes that they're offering them, there's so many people in there that they aren't given the opportunity. So we do want to do that. And those who are incarcerated that are listening right now, listen, it's not what happens to you, but it's what you do with what happens to you. Okay, you can make the decision that your life is not going to be the same, but you got to do it today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You can't say, well, next week I'll start doing something. No, it's today. Make the decision today. There is help out here. If you've got any connection with Julius, get in touch with him, get in touch with us. We'll get you signed up in the program. We'll send you the assessments to fill out. You send them back to us. We have a specialized software system that we had developed for us that matches you. It matches the person incarcerated with a perfect mentor, because the mentor fills out the same questionnaire that matches them. It's like a match.com. And we want the people to start changing while they're incarcerated. And we want to touch the hearts of the families as well and get them the necessary help that they need. And like Shannon said, the community needs to be more informed. They don't even know. And that's what we're doing. We're doing at our resource center. Uniquely You, upscale resale thrift store, and we have a resource center as well. We offer hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We offer all this health and wellness. It's a whole package for those coming out. Shannon saw the hyperbarics chamber yesterday. She's like, I want to get in. We didn't have time.
Okay, but, Richard. Well, let's let Richard share, because Richard, yeah. I know you need someone, a returning citizen, even if necessary. Share what you're looking for right now.
Well, we may have found one today. We have an applicant for our discipleship and residence director, and that would be what we need in order to kick off the program and start accepting our Christian brothers. I would like to speak, even though it wasn't my topic assigned, just to speak of the issue of the people that are still incarcerated. You can be free no matter where you are. And it's like Pamela said when she started. The ultimate freedom is not getting out of prison. The ultimate freedom is not getting out and making a lot of money, having enough to buy whatever you want. The ultimate freedom is freedom that lasts for eternity, not temporarily. And that's found only in Christ. And I would encourage everyone that hears this to think of their spiritual life. And if you do that, if you put God first, the Bible says, and I totally believe it, that God will give you the desires of your heart. One reason is because your desires change. I would never have wanted to go into prison and spend my retirement visiting people in prison. But God changes the heart. And when the heart changes, your whole life changes. And so it doesn't matter. Yeah, you want to be successful. You want to be able to impact other people. You want to be able to do these other things. But the fundamental thing in life is to have a relationship with God. And once that's done, the other pieces will fall into place. Whether they're hard or easy, whether they fit together quickly or slowly, you'll see God working in your life. And that's the most important thing. On to the community. Yes, the community needs to be engaged. I think I would love to get together with Pamela and explore some of the ideas that she's utilizing up there down here in Southeast Georgia. The idea of a thrift store. I know we have a couple in town, but it's a great way to have people come and mix and be able to share stories. Be able to have them know, well, this is put on by guys that have been incarcerated, but now they're living productive lives. They're godly men that are helping the community. Any impact they can have where they can get out and speak to the youth and have an impact on people who don't have dads. There are so many young boys. Men are leaders of families. When the family is correct, men lead the families. And when there's no male leadership, the families disintegrate. And that's what we're seeing in our country, is disintegration of the family. So trying to get this into the community, we would like to do it in any way, shape we can. I would love to use our Christian brothers to impact the community by having them tell their stories and be involved where it's in a visible place, not just getting a job someplace, earning money and being okay and having an apartment or a house, but changing lives because they are visible in the community and people understand where they've been and what they've come from. And it will also help to reduce the antagonism that we found in some people because we don't want New Point House near here because it might damage the neighborhood. No, New Point House is like a parsonage, and it's going to improve the neighborhood because there are godly men there that will build the neighborhood.
Now, Shannon, I don't know if we got you back. I know that you may have some technical difficulties, but what we are definitely going to do is we are going to start have you come back, and we're going to have you to share your story on your own because of the continual technical difficulties that we've had. So don't fret that you missed this opportunity. You will get it again. Can you hear us? I see you. Can you hear me?
Let me see if we can unmute her. There you go.
Say something, Shannon. There you go.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, we're getting ready to close down, but do you have any closing words of encouragement?
That God is real and you keep pressing. You do it for you. You have to find that peace in yourself to keep going in spite of what anybody else say. They don't know your life. You do.
Okay. Well, I appreciate all of you. We have your information that has been scrolling across the screen so that the people can get in contact with you. Again, Shannon, we will have you to come back and to share your story as well as some more practical solutions to the problems that we are trying to solve. As I always love to say, we may have all started out wrong, but we can still finish strong. So with that, I thank each of you for coming on, for sharing your story, Pamela, how you did it when you was incarcerated, and now you are making that dream come true by changing the mindset of others. And Richard, thank you for the passion that you have for wanting to be that resource for those men that are coming on the outside. And again, also for Shannon, for her having the courage to be able to be an answer to these problems. We thank you. We'll have you again to let us know some updates on what's going on your side as well. Thank you again. Also, I want to make sure that we remember, I saw a couple of you on there, Veronica Brown. She says, may the Lord bless this ministry far and beyond measure. This is absolutely amazing. I see you, Melanie Mason and Kenya and Suzanne Button. Also, I see you, Sierra, for your words of encouragement as well. Linda Scott, thank you. Greetings, as you stated. I am just so excited about those of you who are sharing this station with others to let them know we are changing the narrative. Returning citizens are being successful. Thank you. We'll see you again. Julius,
thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Yeah. Good night. Thank y'all for coming.
God bless. Bye-bye. It's not what happens to you, but what you do with what happens to you.
Like that.
Amen.